This is the scenario that I'm going to talk about, but as you can see, it's part of a whole system, which is a dentist receptionist voicebot built on retail AI. Yeah, so like I have explained all of it in here, but today I want to talk about only this part, which I think is the most valuable to you guys, because I have seen a lot of questions relating to this scenario. A lot of people had problems with that, so I want to make things clear so you can work with it. So let me just give you a brief overview how it fits into the whole system. So as you can see, this was built for a dentist receptionist voice AI system, and this system first checks if the caller is a new patient or existing patient. Then it is able to do all of these things. So schedule appointment, cancel appointment, or schedule appointment, reschedule appointment for an existing patient. So the reason why this is all separate is because if it's a new patient, we will make a new entry into our database. And if it's an existing patient, we will retrieve this patient's information from our database. So that's why it's separate. And here I have a couple of other verification steps, because the first thing that this bot does is to check if the phone number that is in the system matches, and the caller is also supposed to give their birth date for verification purposes. And if that doesn't work, then we have another step in here that asks for the caller's dental insurance number, and yeah, make sure that it finds it in the database so it can book an appointment. So yeah, that's the system. But today I want to talk about only the schedule appointment part of this. I mean, checking the availability part. So as you can see here, in the schedule appointment step, we first ask the caller what the appointment is for, the purpose of the appointment. Then we ask them for a preferred date for their appointment. Then the agent that is built on retail AI uses the check availability function or tool, which is defined as follows. So here I gave it a description about how to use this tool. Use this function to check the dental clinic's availability. If the caller did not suggest any date, use tomorrow's date. If the caller suggested more than 2 dates, use the first date they mentioned. And the only variable that we are sending to this scenario is the user's preferred date. And here I'm telling the agent to put it in this format. So year, month, date. Yeah. And with this format, then we are going to make.com, or the information is going to make.com, where we are receiving this variable that we collected from retail. Let's say it's the 4th of October. Yeah, we are also receiving a bunch of other information from retail, like the phone number, but it's not relevant for this step. For this step, what is relevant is just this variable. Yeah, so the caller's requested date arrived at the webhook. And after that, what happens is we are making a connection to 𝐬𝐞.𝐀. So the reason why I'm using 𝐬𝐞.𝐀 here is because it has an API for the available slots. Out of the box. And the problem with Google Calendar, for example, is that it only has an API for the busy slots. So if we want to retrieve the available times from the busy slots, we have to do a couple of extra steps in order to get the available slots. And this is where it's getting complicated, and we have to use an OpenAI module after that in order to get the available slots from the busy slots. But with 𝐬𝐞.𝐀, we have an API for just the busy slots already. Okay, let me now show you how you have to set up your 𝐬𝐞.𝐀 booking event in order for this to work. So you just create a new event, and I have already set it up, and let me show you what's important in this. So first you set up a duration, and yeah, that's it for this one. Then is there somebody? Okay, there is a question. Let me enable the mic. Yes, Aaron, please.
Yeah, I think it feels like you are showing something, but it's not moving anything. It's by default the same picture we are seeing.
𝐬𝐞.𝐀, you mean? You don't see this right now? 𝐬𝐞.𝐀?
I see the Miro board. It's been like a long time since.
Okay. Let me check why.
It's working for me. I saw cal.com, so it might just be you, Aram. I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah. Maybe I will need to join again.
Yeah, that might be best. Yeah, it's working for others too.
All right. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. I hope it's working for you too, Aram. Okay. So let me continue with that now. Okay. So here you define your available slots. For the dentist one, I just put like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Every day except for weekends. Okay, so that's it for this part. Then we have here, this is also important, and what I also like about 𝐬𝐞.𝐀, that you can define buffer slots, and these are also considered in the API, which is really great. But the only thing with that, I don't know why it is like that, but this is actually after the event and this is before the event. So this is the settings for before the event and this is for after the event. I don't know why it's not matching, but you will see once you use my template, which I will provide you at the end of this call, that this is actually vice versa. So if you want to set a buffer time for after the event, you have to use this. And if you want to set a buffer time for before the event, you have to use this. I don't know what's wrong with this settings, but it is as it is. Yeah, so I set an buffer time for after the appointment, 10 minutes, because like the dentist office maybe has to make a report about that patient, and yeah, we still need like 10 minutes for after the appointment. And minimum notice is like the minimum notice of when you can book a slot. For me it's 30 minutes, but you can also have like a day or a couple of hours before. Then the time slots intervals, I set this to 30, but you can also set smaller numbers. Yeah, that's it for this setting. And here you have to put in title in curly brackets. And then here you select the calendar that you want to sync your. So the cool thing about this too is that you can sync it with your Google Calendar. So you can still use 𝐬𝐞.com for checking the availability, even if you don't want to use 𝐬𝐞.com for booking the events. You can still use it for checking Google Calendar's availability with that too. So that's also great about 𝐬𝐞.com. Yeah. And here you're setting up the variables that you need from your caller or from your user. So of course we need the name, and the email address is by default and you cannot turn them off. But also another advantage of 𝐬𝐞.com is that this is especially good for voicebots because we are mostly working with phone numbers instead of email addresses. And this is great because you can set up a variable for phone numbers here. This is how you set it up, just phone. And it will still accept it. So in here, because this you have to still have the email address included, but you can just have your, put in your email address in here. Yeah. And another variable that I set up is purpose, which is why, like what the appointment is for. Is it for teeth whitening? Is it for oral exam, or stuff like that? So this is the only variables that I need for this one. Okay, that's it for the settings. And how you can sync it with your Google Calendar is through the settings here. Yeah, here you just add your Google Calendar in here. And of course, you will also need your API keys for accessing this 𝐬𝐞.com, and you can find it here. Okay, so this is for the setup right now. Let's continue here now. I hope you can see that again. If not, please let me know. Okay, so here what we need is this URL in order to get our available times. Then we are using a get method because we want to get the available times. And this is just standard, as many of you may know, just JSON format. Then we are defining the start and end time for the date that we want to check the availability for. So this is the variable that we got from our webhook here, date. And we have to use this specific format, which 𝐬𝐞.com accepts. So you put a T in here, and then you define the start time. So because my office, dental office, starts at 9 and ends at 5, I've put a 9 and 5 here, but if you have different times, you just adjust this for your case. And this here is my time zone, so you just add plus or your time zone. Okay, and this one, you also have to add your event type. Where can you find this? It's here. So when you go to your event that I just showed you, you can just copy and paste this information in here. And of course, then you also need your API key. and paste it in here. Okay, and we want to parse the response because we want to work with the variables individually. So that's why we parse the response. And let me show you an example of how this looks like when it's executed. So this is two outputs. So this output is for when there is no available slot for the date that the user requested. It will look like this, empty. And if there is, it will output a number of available slots. So yeah, let's continue with, do you have any questions so far before I go to the next one? Okay, no hands. Okay, let me check here. Yes, please. George, or yes, George?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. Why don't you use the custom function from retail that checks the availability?
Oh, yes, great question. I had this in mind to explain this before. So why I don't use the retail one is, let me, yeah, it's because my setup is a little different. So this path is for if the date is, if there is an available slot for the date that the user wanted, it will go this way. But if there is no available slot, the automation will go this way, which is checking all the dates from starting from today, one by one, until it finds an available date. So this is like why I want this to work this way, and in retail's integration, you cannot set it up like this. So that's why I wanted this. And also I heard people who have problems with the retail integration, 𝐬𝐞 integration. So yeah, if you are having problems with that, you can use this automation, which works. I will also show you a demo of how it works at the end. Yeah. Also, the reason why I'm not using the retails ones is because I also have like work with Monday.com. So this is just an example for our beginners coaching course. That's why I use Monday.com. And I need to get the booking information into the database. So that's why I'm also using my specific booking automation here and not retails. Yeah, okay, let's continue here. So the next step after we got the time slots from 𝐬𝐞, this is how it will look like. We need to do something special here. We need to use the get data slots from the date that came in through the webhook, because the problem with that is you see this variable here, it's always changing for each date that the user requested. So it will not work if we just if we don't do this step here. So we need to get this variable from this array. And this is what this function does. Yeah, and after that, you can see it looks the same as before, like here. The only difference is that now we have a variable for this array, which is always the same. So we can work with that now. Yeah. The next one is an iterator, which means that we want to get all these available times. Yeah, as separate values. So how it looks like is, so this is how it was before, and now it looks like this. Just iterating these, because if we have them as an array, it's not possible to work with them, with those variables. So we have to put it in this format. And this is how it would look like. But if it's empty, so if the preferred date is busy for the whole day, it will look like this. Also, you can see here, this was also empty. For the case that it's unavailable. Yeah, and after that, we use a text aggregator, which does the following thing. So you see how it was like this before, and now we have it in this format because there is a bunch of information that we don't need here. So the date we don't need because we already know what date we're talking about. So we want to keep it simple for the LLM in retail to understand, and we want it to output it in this way. So if the caller asks what times are available, we don't want it in this format, we want it in this format. So that's what this scenario is doing. Text aggregator scenario. So we are using a comma, and there is also a space here, which is invisible, but there is one. And then we are formatting this date here to hour and minutes, and A stands for PM or AM, which is exactly what we are getting here. And this is again if the requested date was not available, this is how it would look like, which is empty. Okay, and then after that we have different paths. So as I said, we have a filter for the case that if we have values for this variable, like this, if there is something in this variable, the automation will go this way, which is the response back to retail. And yeah, if it's empty, it will go this way. So let me show you the filters. So here, text variable is this variable. And here we are using the operator does not exist, which means if this variable is empty, meaning that we didn't have any available slots for this date that the caller wanted, then it will go here. And if the text has some values in it, like here, then it means, yes, there are some available slots for the date that the caller requested. And we will go to the webhook response, which is sending back the available times to retail. So this is how it will look like. So we want it to be in a sentence. So the available times on. So this is how you put your response, because yeah, this is the way just how the LLM in retail can understand what's going on. And this is the specific message that it gets in this case. So the available times on October the 8th, this is the variable that we got from the webhook, is this thing. So this is the variable that we had here. Yeah, so this is the message that is sent back to retail. And then, of course, the LLM understands this and tells the caller about the available times. Okay, let's see what happens if the text that we got here, which is here, we didn't have any available times outputted in here. So this means we will go up here. And the first module for this path is the repeater module, which means that it will repeat this whole sequence. Yeah, and how it's done, let me show you that. So here is the number of repeats. This is the number of dates that will be repeated if the preferred date was not available. If it's 10, it means that it will repeat the next 10 days from today. Okay, it will become more clear when I show you the next module, because it's kind of dependent. Yeah, so this module, text aggregator module, has a function in here. And you can see we have the now variable here, which is a default date and time variable from make.com, which gives us the date and time of today. And what we're doing here is first formatting it, because we only want it, we only want the year, the month, and the day in this specific format, because this is how 𝐬𝐞 accepts the dates. And after that, we are adding the days. So what days are we adding? It's this repeater module. Let me show you. So this is what we are adding. So this is the variable that's in here. So for each repetition, we are adding 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on until we are at the 10th date. Yeah, and this is how the output for this looks like. So it outputs all the dates starting from today, because when this scenario ran, it was the 2nd of October, and starting from the 2nd of October, it took all the dates after that. And after that, we need to get the values again one by one, because we cannot input this whole thing into the next 𝐬𝐞 module. So because we want to check each date separately, we also need to again use an iterator here. Split text new line means that we are splitting this text and making a new line for each of this date, which will then look like this here. So yeah, so you can see from here we got to here, and this allows us to work with all these dates one by one. Okay, and here, before going to the 𝐬𝐞 module, I set up another filter which checks if the date is a Sunday or a Saturday because we are not available on the weekends. So it shouldn't check. So it shouldn't continue here if it's a Sunday or Saturday. Actually, you don't need to set this filter up, but I did it because it saves operations. So if you are available on Saturday or Sundays, you can get rid of this filter. But you also don't need to really use it because you already defined your availabilities in 𝐬𝐞.com, so it will not give you any availabilities for Saturday or Sunday anyways, also without this filter. But for saving operations, it's great. So yeah, and in the next module, we are doing basically the same thing as here. The only difference is that this module, because it's a repetition, checks each of these dates here one by one until it finds an available time. And how do we stop this scenario? You may ask, because if we didn't have a mechanism that stops this scenario, we would have like a lot of wasted operations, because this would continue until it is done with all of the 10 dates. But we don't want this. We want it to stop after it found the earliest available date. So how do we do that? Is first of all, we need a filter here. Let me explain you this here. So this HTTP module and this thing is just a mechanism to stop the scenario. So this thing here doesn't have any real function. So I just gave it a URL that doesn't exist. So it outputs an error. And when it outputs an error, it stops the scenario. So, and when does it stop the scenario? It's happening in the filters. So what's happening in this filter is, so let me show you how it looks like, how the outputs look like if we had any available dates. So the output for the HTTP module looks like this. So it checked the first date, which was, I think, the 3rd of October, and it didn't find any available slots. So it repeated this whole path again and inputted the next date, which also was empty. And then it again repeated this whole process and found some available dates. So after making this steps to get the output in the format that we need, we are arriving at this point where we have this filter with text exists, which means if there is a value for this, it will go to this. But the key in this scenario is that we have to set up the router here in the way that the flow first goes here and then it goes here. So you have to have this order. So first you can change the order by right-clicking on this router model, and it will go here if it exists. And after that, so it will go here if we had an output for this. So what will happen in the whole path in here is like this. Let's say we have the first date that is checked. Let's say the 2nd of October. It was empty. The text variable was empty. Like here, it was empty. Then it will not go through any of these filters because we set up a filter that if it can only pass this if it exists, and it will also not pass this if it will not pass this if the text does not exist. So what will happen is it will stop here and go back again. So it will do the next repetition, the next round for the next date. And if this is also not available, it will stop again here. It will not pass these filters and go back again. And it will repeat this until until this output is not empty anymore. So until it looks like this. So what it will first do, it will first send the webhook response back to retail, as we have seen before. And the second thing is it needs to stop the scenario. So it will also go this way because we've now found a date that is available. So we don't need any more repetitions. And it will stop the scenario then here. This module, by the way, is for stopping the scenario. Yeah, and how it does this is it just outputs an error, and this is an error handler. If you don't know that, commit, you just right click on this module and then you add an error handler on it. So what it will do is just output every time that the automation passes this filter, it will output an error because this is the way to stop the scenario. Unfortunately, make.com doesn't have a solution for that. But this is a way that we can do that. Now let me show you how this works. Yeah, in real life. So here is my scenario. Let's run this. Okay, no, first let's go to my calendar, and I'm gonna have a busy slot here for tomorrow, not all day, but from 11 to 12 a.m. That's good. No, should be the 28th. 11 a.m. we want. Okay, so now I have a busy time for tomorrow, and it shouldn't show this to us as an available time. Let's see if it's doing the job. Run. So I'm gonna use Postman to do this. So here we will request. So this is, by the way, how the webhook looks like, how the payload looks like. That is coming from retail. We just need this variable, the date. So let's say I'm asking for tomorrow's date, yeah. And let's activate the scenario. It is activated already. Let's send that. Okay, let's see what the result is. 9 a.m., 9:30, 10, 10, 12:30. Yeah, that's right, because our busy time for tomorrow is from 11 to 12 p.m. I believe, was it? Yeah. And here you can see it was not listed as an available time, which is great. And all the other times were listed as available. So that's great. And now let's make these 2 days unavailable. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm gonna be busy for the whole day today, tomorrow until 29th. Yeah. So now we should follow the other path because our preferred date is not available. Let's test this again. Okay, now I'm requesting again. Did I make this correct here? Let me see, because sometimes did I put it as busy here? No, see, save. Okay, now I'm asking again for tomorrow, but as it's not available, we should follow this path here, correct? And you see, it did a couple of repetitions. Why isn't it zooming in? Okay, here, let's see the response. There are no available times on the 28th of October. The earliest available times are on October 30th, 9 a.m. That looks good. Let's see. Yeah, so that's correct. 28 is not available, 29 is not available, and the earliest available is the 30th. So that was correct, as you can see. It's working perfectly fine. Yeah, so that's it. We have like a couple of minutes for any questions, please. Yeah, let me enable the microphone. Okay, questions? Anyone?
Nour, can I ask one?
Yes.
First of all, thank you for showing us all of that. So I appreciate that. Question about that handout or template that you were showing. I know the first message says that all is available in your school coaching program.
No. Okay, let me show you where it's available. Of course, you can get that, so it's available here. Let me copy paste.
Took some screenshots, but it was difficult to take screenshots and catch up with all that you saying at the same time. So it'd be good to get one.
You can have it. It's here in the resource hub, this one. So let me put the link into.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot.
Here, I put it into the chat.
Much appreciated.
And yeah, guys, as you have seen in the message, so if you want to learn more about the whole thing here, about the whole thing, and if you want to get the prompts and stuff, these are available for our students in the coaching program. They get all the templates for all these. So, and this is the coaching program. So this is the last price for today. tomorrow I will change them. Yeah, of course it will be more than that, what you're seeing right now. Yeah, and guys, like if you're trying to implement this template, you will probably get some errors at first, because sometimes we are making like a little mistakes and we are not able to figure them out by ourselves. So this is why I want to invite you to our Discord here. It's also in the links in the chat. Here you can ask your questions. You just make a new post, and then you are explaining to me what your problem is, and then I'm trying to help you with that. Also, you can join our LinkedIn group, where I'm also posting like stuff about voice AI. And what else? Also the Facebook group, feel free to join. Also, I'm posting here a lot of stuff. Yeah, so that's it basically. Do you have any more questions about this scenario? So if you have, please let me know.
I think there are some in the messages.
Oh, okay, let me check the message. We can get the blueprint only if we register for the program. Yeah, so the ones that I showed you right now is for free, as I uploaded it in here. You can just get it from here. But the other ones are, so all the rest, let me show you. So I have like templates for rescheduling, finding the current time, because this is also sometimes a problem in retail or in other things. So, and for canceling the appointment, for rescheduling appointment. Yeah, this you can all get them in the beginners coaching program. Yeah, so the other templates are only available in the coaching program. So it is also possible to check 𝐬𝐞.com dates but book in Google Calendar. Yes. Yes, you can do that. So I like to handle these separately. So checking the availability and booking the appointment, I have them separately. You can also include them in here. So you can just have like before the webhook response, you can have the booking part in here, but I like to keep them as separate scenarios. And yeah, you can book into Google Calendar. And because it's synced with your 𝐬𝐞.com, it will also be synced in 𝐬𝐞.com. So it will still work if you book it only into Google Calendar. Yeah. How to handle different time zones? Yeah, that's a great question. So this specific example is only for one time zone, because like as the use case implies, it's a dentist office, so it's local. We don't need to deal with different time zones. Yeah, when it comes to voicebots, the way you can deal with different time zones is by looking at the country code of the phone number, and then having a system that matches the country code with the time zone, and then have like different flows for that. So yeah, but this is another a whole other level. So yeah, for this one is just for one time zone. You will need to have other steps before this module to also consider other time zones. Yeah. But if there is like some interest in that too, we can also have another meeting where I can explain that too, if there is enough interest. So can someone share the link how to get free template to play with? Okay. In the scenario, what happens if you can find a free date within the 10 days? Yeah, then it will stop. So the scenario stops as soon it finds an available date. So if the caller's date was not available, it will go here and will stop as soon as it finds an available slot. And if there was an available slot for the preferred date, it will go this way. Yeah, any other questions? I'm sorry, I still don't see the screen. Oh. Aram, I hope you were able to find the screen. So you don't ask for customers' email addresses? No, in this system, it's not necessary. You can just work with the person's phone number, which you will get through retail anyway. It's in the payload. So let me show you where it is. So this is the payload that you get from retail, and retail also gives you the number, and you can just have it in, yeah, for booking the event. You don't need the email address. So that's why I'm using 𝐭𝐞.com, because its API is great for yeah, working with phone numbers. Okay, guys, I have another meeting in 5 minutes, so I hope this was valuable to you. And if you need like any other stuff or any more explanations, feel free to ask. Yeah. See you in the next one.
Thanks, Nour. Take care. Good luck with next meeting.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Ciao, ciao.